Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the podcast. As always, guys, a quick reminder that this podcast is for intermediate and advanced learners. The focus of the podcast is for natural language acquisition through interesting content. Today, a little disclaimer. We're going to speak about curse words, profanities, bad words. So if you're studying for an English exam, you probably won't need these words. You definitely won't need these words. Also, if you are under the age of 18, I suggest not listening to this episode. Just turn it off. Maybe listen to another episode of the podcast instead. The same applies to anyone who might be offended by explicit language. If you get offended easily by bad words, please stop listening and just check out another episode of the podcast. Okay, but in general, if you're living your life and you're surrounded by people, you will hear these words, vulgar language that is, because these words are used all the time. Even if you don't use them because you might perceive them as vulgar, which they are, still it's important to be aware, I suppose, of the utility and versatility of language. The fact that other people use these words means it's just part of the common lexicon, the language of daily life that we use. So what are we going to focus on? We're going to look at some curse words, some profanities, and we're going to see some examples of when they are used. We should start with the main word, the most versatile curse word in the English language, which is fuck. We can use fuck as a verb, to fuck, which means to have sex or to make love, but it's obviously a very, very vulgar way to say that. It's not nice at all, but we can use it in that way. We can also use it as an adjective. That person is a fucking prick. Okay, and a prick is another negative word to call someone if they're really, really unpleasant, just a generally horrible human being. Okay, so a fucking prick, and fucking is an intensifying adjective in this case. Most curse words have an original meaning related to the anatomy, often the male anatomy, which is true for words such as dick, cock, and prick. But these words are used as pointed insults, which relate more to someone being an annoying or unpleasant or generally terrible person. So if you want to search for the exact meanings of these words, please use an online dictionary instead of Google. I will add my favorite online dictionaries in the description section. And then we have it as a noun, to be a fuck, which means to be a contemptible or horrible person. It can also, as a noun, fuck can also mean the act of sex. So in short, it's an extremely flexible word, which is often used to stress the emotion of the speaker. Let's look at some nice creative uses of the word in compound words, like two words together. So some of my favorites: to be a fuckwit, to be a fuckface, fuckhead. Okay, so you might hear these expressions used. They're very creative. But all of these are ways to describe a contemptible, stupid, or horrible person. Okay, so similar meanings. You will see that most of these words have a very similar target. Okay. A personal disclaimer here. I personally don't like directing swear words at any person. I believe that any kind of negativity that you direct at someone will come back at you. Besides that, I think it's the easy way out. Diplomacy and diplomatic language take brain power, and we can find more interesting ways to say the things we think. However, I 100% believe in free expression. So these words are used and can be used, but with caution. Always play it safe and only use these words with friends if you are going to use them. Not in formal settings, not in your office, not with colleagues. Jesus, avoid it at all costs. Okay. Next, we have a great phrase, clusterfuck. It is used to describe a situation or a series of issues that occur at the same time. It means that the situation is an absolute mess. It may seem like there is no solution to the mess. For example, let's imagine that you're at a friend's wedding. The florist delivered the wrong flowers. Everything's pink instead of white. The rental cars for the wedding broke down on the motorway. The priest called in sick that morning with food poisoning. And to top it all off, it's raining heavily. So the outdoor ceremony has to be moved inside at the last minute. The venue is too small, so guests are standing in the rain. And nobody can think of a backup plan. That's a total clusterfuck. Multiple things going wrong simultaneously, creating chaos. A clusterfuck. Another good example of a phrase with fuck is to give a fuck or not to give a fuck, which means that you care about something or you don't care about something at all. So for example, let's say someone at work is gossiping about another colleague. They're telling you a story about somebody else's personal life and you really don't care. Okay, you have many options here. Your inner thoughts might be thinking, I couldn't give a fuck about this story. It's none of my business. I couldn't give a fuck. Why are you telling me this? Okay, so that might be your inner voice. I couldn't give a fuck. Okay. Also quite nice in Ireland, we often say, I couldn't give a flying fuck. I couldn't give a flying fuck about this. But obviously, you can't say that. Well, okay, or maybe you can. If you're in confidence with that person, maybe you can. You might be like, look, I couldn't give a flying fuck about that person or that person's personal life. Can we talk about something else? Our next phrase is used when we are shocked by something and stressing our disbelief, shock, disgust sometimes, or confusion. What the fuck? What the fuck? So for example, you might see something that shocks you, like a person putting chewing gum under a seat in a restaurant. Ugh, what the fuck? That might be your reaction in your head. Or you open your fridge and discover someone has drunk all the milk and put the empty carton back in the fridge. What the fuck? Why? Or you finish work at the end of a long day, you leave the building and your car has been towed away. Okay, even though you parked it in the right spot, it's been towed away and you're going to have to pay a fine. Okay, you might think, what the fuck? Come on, really? Today? The next one we have is to fuck something up, which means to ruin something, to make a serious mistake or to damage something badly. All right, so to ruin something or to make a serious mistake or to damage something badly. So for example, I really fucked up that job interview. I arrived late, forgot the interviewer's name and spilled coffee on my CV. Or the builders fucked up their kitchen renovation. They installed the cabinets backwards and broke 3 tiles. It's a nightmare. So a quick summary here. We have clusterfuck for a mess. We have what the fuck for reaction, maybe surprise or disgust, shock. We use it a lot. I couldn't give a fuck, which means I just don't care. I don't care at all. I couldn't give a fuck. And to fuck something up, which is to make a mistake or to ruin something, an opportunity, a chance, or to destroy something completely. So now let's check out some other common expletives. Let's move on to some more classics. So we said prick earlier, and it's a very creative way to describe someone who is acting like a horrible person. It's a very negative thing to call someone, a prick, that is. Again, only in very informal settings do we use these words and expressions among close friends. Even if the words do have a negative connotation, they're for venting or releasing tension. Curse words help us to vent our emotions sometimes. For example, if you kick your foot off a chair at nighttime in the dark and you're like, oh, fuck, that's a way to vent. It releases the tension of the moment. The same if you're running like a long distance race and you arrive, at the last kilometer and you find a steep hill in front of you. You might say to yourself, oh, fuck, fuck this hill. I have to, really? The last kilometer? Okay. But then you might also use it as motivation. It's like, I can fucking do this. Come on, let's fucking go. Okay. You might inspire yourself. Negative language or these curse words have been shown in times of stress to motivate people, to help people perform better. So curse words are fantastic for that. Another example might be when you're driving, especially when someone cuts you off, they block your way. You might say to yourself, what the fucking fuck was that? Or what the fuck is that person doing? Okay, it happens. People have road rage. Of course, we shouldn't say this, or we shouldn't say it to the other driver in any case, but it's okay to think it or to say it to ourselves in the moment, just to vent. However, it's good to maybe just relax, take a chill pill, and calm down. Because hey, who's in a rush? We should all just relax. We should all just relax. The next one we're going to move on to is asshole or arsehole, which is the British pronunciation. Here are some very common expressions you might hear in an Irish household. You arsehole, I can't believe you stole my coffee. Or, you arsehole, I can't believe you drank the last of the milk. Okay, so this, especially if you grow up in a house with lots of boys, teenagers, this is unfortunately the language we use to discourse in Ireland sometimes, especially in the teenage years. But hey, look, it's reality. It's real language in use. And sometimes that's okay. It's fine. The next and last piece of profanity on our list is wanker. If you call someone a wanker, it's similar to prick in that sense. It's just somebody who is horrible or contemptible, terrible. So they are just a piece of shit. Okay, it's another way to say a piece of shit, which again is a great profanity. It's a great expression. They're just a really negative character. They're untrustworthy, horrid, horrible, unfriendly, unpleasant, or mean, cruel, etc. See, there are lots of ways to say it using nicer language, but a lot of people would say piece of shit, or wanker, or a prick. So you might say, if you're in a queue, what an absolute wanker, he took my place in the queue. Okay, so people who jump the queue or skip the line in shops are invariably wankers, let's face it. That's a universal truth. So when someone skips the line, it's not cool, it's not good. So you might hear, or you might think, oh, what a wanker, I can't believe they took my place in the queue, or jumped the queue. They just walked past us as if we were invisible. Yeah, that's a big one. It happens in the airport and people get very, very tense. Okay guys, those are some classic curse words. Use them sparingly. I recommend reading or listening to this episode again. Try and get a bit of rhythm. Look at the transcript, read along. I've tried to kind of, I suppose, embody the emotions of the people who use those words. So I've tried to put myself in the shoes of the people feeling those emotions when they use those words. So do listen to the episode, read the transcript, read along with this, give it a little bit of energy. It's good to curse sometimes. It's okay. We're grown-ups. And if you are listening to this and you're not a grown-up, please don't use these words. Okay? But in all seriousness, I personally am trying to reduce my use of these words in my daily life, because I think it does affect our general outlook. I think I'm trying to use different words, because overusing these words, in any case, I don't know, there is a time and a place to use them, but overusing them might have a negative effect on your day-to-day perspective. It's best to use them to vent, but just don't go overkill. Don't be too excessive. Don't be one of those people who uses them in every other sentence, because that's not charming. It's not charismatic. They should be used like little gems, sprinkled, the icing on the cake at just the right moments. Cool, guys. I hope you've appreciated this episode of the podcast on vulgar language. Take care of yourselves and have a great week. Ciao. Ciao.